Good afternoon, everyone. TGT Media is an entertainment industry interview podcast where we interview the creative people from the entertainment industry, and of course, I'm your host, Kurt. This is episode 303, I think, something like that. It's a crazy day for podcasts today for me, apparently, but we are joined by a past guest that has not been on the show for over 3.5 years. I don't know why that is, because I love her comic and I love to see what she has to do, and I'm still a fan of her work, but for some reason she hasn't been on the show. But now that guilt trip is over with, we are joined today by Jenn Brazas from, of course, Mystic Revolutions, and she is here about a new Kickstarter campaign that she has. But Jenn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I don't know. The project is launched. It's been up for an hour, and they've already managed to pledge $100, so I feel pretty good about that. And I bought a pie, so I have that waiting for me too. It did.
Well, let's kind of take a step back here because, the last time you were on the show, I believe you had book 1 and you were working on book 2 at the time. So you've doubled the amount of books you have since your last on. Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to do a Kickstarter for book 4.
Well, basically, PayPal had changed around their pre-order policy, so that way, if because I used to do all the pre-orders through PayPal, and then but they changed the policy so that if you can't deliver your product within 30 days, then you basically are liable to have your account suspended or something like that if somebody should complain about the delivery and yada yada yada. And naturally, I don't want my account suspended or anything like that. So Kickstarter presents the option of raising a ton of money and getting that out there, and it's just a really great way to keep track of rewards as far as artist editions and additional swag and stuff like that. And it's cool because it's one of those things too where when I was doing the pre-orders through Shark Robot, I could only do the signed editions, and it was also kind of a mess in terms of fulfillment because I would ask Dave to separate the signed and drawn-in editions from the normal ones, and I just got this giant email pile, and it's thanks a lot, buddy. So, having Kickstarter, everything's in a nice little list. You can click on what everybody's getting, and then, keep it, you can export it as a spreadsheet. So, super organized, and I am excited about that.
Well, it's good to be organized, especially when you have, you have a great fan base, you have a long, tradition of great fantasy characters that I love there. So, it's always been a blast, and this is the first time I've actually seen you face to face, computer-wise, so to speak. So
I hope I don't disappoint.
Oh no, you're wonderful. You're wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
But Kickstarter is very time-consuming aspect. It is something that will consume your every waking moment and or soul. I'm not sure if that's a part of the fine print, but
I have been forewarned about the amount of work, and both leading up to it, then during the project, and then fulfilling it afterwards. So, and believe me, again, even though this is kind of the soft launch or whatever, in that, I'm mostly just sending it out to all my friends and people that I know and talk to, it's still been a lot of work just in this first hour. But, again, the benefits of it are just so wonderful, both for me and that obviously I get to help raise my funding, but also for everybody else because, I can just deliver so many more things than I could do just doing a normal, regular pre-order. And I'm just really excited about the new book. It's going to be chapters 22 to 26, all color. You can check out the cover for it on the page, as well as I think one of the bonus pages. It's just going to be really gorgeous, and I'm super, super excited.
So, when it comes to this particular book, though, you know, you have a great batch of content, especially with 4 chapters, because you have a ton of stuff happening on with that. But how are you trying to promote yourself besides accessing your various friends and family members initially?
Like, literally, it's just like, have you sent me an email? You're going on the list. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, the direct connection is friends and family, old high school teachers, people I've done work for, people I've done favors for, or who owe me favors, just, like, calling in, all sorts of things. I'm asking my other webcomic friends to pimp in on their sites, and then I was just going to send out press releases to the various webcomic media people and hope something happens with that. I don't know. I'm throwing a rock into a pond and hoping there are ripples, basically.
Well, you got one ripple here. So,
yes, and I really, really appreciate it.
Okay. So ever since we last chatted, I mean, I'm sure a lot has changed overall. Your art style has definitely cleaned up a lot. I've seen that as well. You're really using the glowing effects of the weapons, as well as the armor is looking really nice too. So why the change? I mean, was it something that was necessary at this point in time?
Well, basically, when I started the comic, it was in black and white, and I updated 3 days a week. And it was mostly a black and white comic because I didn't know how to color at all, or at least, you know, with any sort of speed at all. But doing black and white, I used a program called Comic Works, and it was just really fast. Like, I would get the whole page toned in like an hour or something like that. And then I started going to art school full time. And I think in my junior year, they really ramped up the workload to the point where I would get like, 14 hours of sleep a week. I basically was just like, I can't physically handle doing 3 updates a week, but I didn't want to put the strip on hiatus unless I absolutely had to. So I decided to drop down to 2 days a week, and switch it to full color, because, at that point, I had been going to art school, and, even though looking back on it now, I still didn't know how to color, but I was able to color better than when I had started the comic. And since then, I've basically just, picked up tips and tricks and, studied intensely other people's works, and stuff like that to, better do cool effects and, the glows and everything like that. I became friends with a woman who is a colorist, and every time, I see one of her books coming out, I'm like, how did you do this effect in panel 3 on page 12? And she's nice enough to, tell me how to do it. So that really, really helps. As far as stylistically, again, it comes down to, going from, just drawing for fun in high school to actually learning how to draw in art school. With Mystic Rev, I really try to push myself out of my comfort zone. In terms of just, I don't want, I find that, a lot of webcomic artists, tend to, do, I don't know how to draw hands, so I'm gonna have my characters' hands in their pockets all the time, or behind their back, or behind their head, or, anything I can do so I don't have to draw hands. Whereas, my philosophy is that, if I didn't know how to draw hands, I would put as many hands as I could in the comic. They will be bad initially, but because I'm forcing myself to draw this thing that I don't know how to draw, eventually it will be better. I think when I first started, the leveling up thing, way back when the comic was first starting, I didn't know how to draw fight scenes, and I knew that was something that I wasn't really comfortable with. But, obviously now, I think I can draw a pretty awesome fight scene.
Yeah.
So, again, getting the hang of like how action flows from a panel to panel thing. The last couple of pages, chapters in particular, I've just been working on trying to vary up my facial expressions. Cause I found that looking back, that I tend to have like the same like 6 to 8 facial expressions that are just like my comfort expressions. So that's why like in the ninja and pirate fight especially, I tried to do weird things with the pirate's face to make him stand out more as not only as a character but just to like stretch my drawing ability and everything like that. I think the comic overall is better for it.
Yeah. Well, your dialogue has gotten a lot better too. I mean, you got the banter down, especially between the ninja and pyro, and that was hilarious. I loved a lot of that.
I like banter because it's fun.
You have to have it. I mean, in terms of conventions, because I believe you still do the your convention drawings or scenes from a convention, which are hilarious. Have you done any more recently, or because of art school you haven't had time to do the convention scene?
Oh no, I do. We still do a ton of conventions. I have since graduated art school, like.
Oh, okay.
But no. I think we usually do anywhere from 8 to 12 conventions a year. I actually just got done with WonderCon. So I think last Monday I posted a little doodly from WonderCon. And I like the convention report comics because like usually they're so terribly drawn because I'm drawing them on the car ride home or the plane ride back or waiting in the airport, whatever. And initially it was just one of those things where, it was literally just, I have to post something because my brain is dead and I can't think anything creatively and everything is mush. So I'm going to post the site so that way people who were able to go can at least have something to read. But then I found as I went to more and more conventions that people actually, like yourself, actually really like the strips, to the point where I'll get people going like, bringing me some weird thing. Like, I went to one convention, and at the time I was playing through Final Fantasy IX, and I really like Final Fantasy IX, but, I think I was complaining about something in it because I had worked my party where, it was this fight with this boss and he didn't do a lot of damage, but he had like a massive amount of hit points and he wasn't affected at all by magic. And I was locked into having 3 casters in the party because they were my favorite characters. So there was only one person who was the thief who could actually hit this thing. So it was literally just the whole fight would be like, it took 3 or 4 hours because every other character could only use potions on each other. And it was awful. And I wrote this blog post about it, complaining about it. And this guy comes up to me at a con and is like, here's a copy of Final Fantasy IX. If you want, we can use a sledgehammer on it right now. Well, let's go in the con report. And I'm just like, what? Hold on. There are many things that you have just said that I need to process. So yeah, and it's really fun just to see how like the fans have come along and like really embrace these like crappy, crude little comics, to the point where they're doing funny things to try to get in them. And, I don't know. By the way, for those listening out there, bringing me pies and cakes and cookies and delightful, delicious baked goods, that's a great way to get into the comics, because I am hungry at conventions.
Well, listening and watching, because this is going to be a video as well, too. So.
Yes!
So the next day, if you watch this video and you see Jenn at your next convention, bring her the biggest pie possible.
Cheesecake? Love cheesecake!
But the one thing is you have to mention you saw this show.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I gotta get my plugs in somehow.
Oh, definitely.
When it comes to, though, the convention scene, has your sales improved? Has your pitch improved? Business-wise, though, how are you doing after 3 or so years?
I am doing fabulously now. I I make my living off of Mystic Rev and, you know, selling stuff to conventions. I do a lot of t-shirts and stuff now, so that really helps, just because it's a lot easier to sell shirts than books, because, you know, at a glance you could tell, like, oh, that shirt's funny, I want it, or like, I don't want it. Whereas with a book you have to be like, this is Mystic Revolution, this is about characters and online role-playing game. You know, you have to give a pitch in order to get somebody to buy a book. You know, and the nice thing too is that having the shirts up on display, then I could be like, oh, if you like my Party with the Cleric shirt, then that's in this comic, check it out! And then usually people do. So yeah, business has definitely gotten better, and, you know, more people approach me at cons being like, yeah, I saw you here last year, or I found this online. I'm on Keen Spot now, so that has definitely helped. You know, a lot more people are reading it because finding it through Keen Spot, so that's definitely nice. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's been really great, and I'm just really thankful to everyone. And I'm super, super happy. I get to make comics! That's awesome!
And you get to keep enjoying doing comics as well.
I know! I don't understand, like, when you, go to a con and, you know, like, some webcomic creators are just like, I don't want to be here. But it's like, dude, you're making comics for a living, and, you know, you're putting your stuff up there for free and somehow making money. This is mysterious and magical. Like, be happy.
And I know this because I have a fantasy webcomic, and I'm all about mystical and magical. What about C2E2? Are you going there this year?
I will not be there selling things, but I will be doing a panel with a friend of mine on, like, digital comics or something on Friday. I don't entirely know what the panel's called because I tend to agree to things without finding out what they are. Because I'm just really nice. I like to help people out.
There's a thing called fine print. You might want to start looking at that.
Oh, no. Why would my friends betray me? This isn't Game of Thrones. It's I believe it's just about, the digital comics revolution or something like that. It has a long title. It's digital something or other. And it's on Friday, so I'll also plug it on the site too, as it gets closer. I'll probably be walking around on Friday, the next convention we will be at is Anime Central, in Rosemont, Illinois. And then after that, literally a few days after that, I think it's Anime Boston in Boston, and then Acon in Dallas, Texas. So those are where we will be in May.
What about up Canada way?
I want to
Anime North?
I would love to do Anime North, but they keep on selling out when, I'll send them a thing as soon as they open up, and then they'll be like, yeah, actually, we sold out before we even opened up. So it's kind of like, why would you post that people can apply if it's already sold out? So I don't know, maybe someday somebody will die and I can take their spot. No, really, I'm not actively saying Canadians should beat down the vendors, but they did.
Sorry, we're too nice of a country and people to do that, you know. If it's a roll up the rim to Wim Cup, though, that's an entirely different story. Let's see what else here. When it comes to the Kickstarter, though,
yes,
this is your first one?
Yes. Well, I have been involved with other people's Kickstarters. I did an anthology. I mean, I wasn't making the anthology, but I did artwork for a story in it. It was a really cool project called Reading with Pictures. And it's all about bringing comics into the classroom by, like, making sort of, like, educational, lesson plans and stuff in comic form, because comics are great.
Yeah, Trevor Mueller does that along with one other guy. I talk with them all the time. It's a great initiative to have and do, and one of those things where finally people will say, "Hey, it's a comic. It's great. It's educational. It's fun." And
yeah, definitely.
And my kids will actually pay attention to this stuff.
Oh. And, so I did, the Pandora story in the first book, or the artwork for it, and that is about, like, celebrity superhero girl, and it's, I think our lesson was, what was it? I don't even remember. It was so long ago. And I had to do all the art in, like, a week and a half. Because it was one of those things where, like, my friend who did the script was just like, "Hey, here's the script, and by the way, it's due in 2 weeks. Thanks, bye!" And I'm like, and I just remember it's awesome because I drew an Xbox robot, and he looks like a giant T-Rex in Xbox colors, and we drew little 8-bit robot versions of other totally not copyright infringing Nintendo SNES stars. Like, not Metroid and not Super Mario Brothers, not Bowser. But, so that was that one, and then, and we're following it up with another one, and the one that they just funded. So, he is the guy who's telling me all about how to do the Kickstarters and all that is involved in that sort of thing. But, I don't know. But yeah, this is my first one, and I'm nervous that I'm not going to meet the goal, and then the whole internet will just laugh at me and be like, "You are a failure."
Well, I'll give you a piece of advice, because we tried to do the webcomics What's Cooking cookbook on Kickstarter.
Why?
And we failed miserably. So,
no!
we raised, I think, almost half our goal. And we ran out of time, but that's because we weren't pushing it, we weren't really publicizing it, or at least it wasn't being grabbed as much as it should have been. But with yours, I mean, I would, you're already contacting the right amount of people, get your fans involved and really get them down, because the sooner you get them involved, the easier it is to get your overall goal. And $5,000 is a lot, but it's definitely manageable, and you have a great solid fan base. They'll be more than happy to help, and maybe they'll get into that con report if they donate it.
Well, I do have plans because my friend was advising me to as it goes on to add more rewards as updates and stuff like that. And at the end of each book, there are like these little bonus stories that aren't online. And so I was thinking for one of like the super awesome expensive rewards of having like, you get to hang out with the characters in the bonus story for book 5.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so. And then having other rewards of like, you get a cameo as an audience member in the tournament or stuff like that. Definitely for those listening and watching, check out, just because you check the link today or tomorrow or whenever you listen to it, just keep checking that because there will be more and more awesome stuff updated as the thing goes on. And I think it lasts like 20 days or something like that, so, yeah.
Now, was that the minimum amount of time you could do it, or the...
No, it was basically, my friend was saying, because I was originally going to do the 30 days or whatever, but then my friend said that if you do it for 30 days, then you get that period about like a week in the middle, where nobody does anything, because, everybody is, the early momentum has died down and it's not at the end yet, so the ending momentum isn't there. And he said it was the most heartbreaking and depressing time of his life because, like, for a week he would get maybe a backer a day and he was just really depressed. So he's like, you could do 30 days, or you could just do 3 weeks and save yourself all the heartache and depression. And the way he described it made it sound like the worst thing in the world. So I decided that probably having it be the 21 days or whatever is a good idea.
Well, I truly wish you the best with this here, Jen, as always, and I'm looking forward to seeing this funded. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience, listeners, watchers of the show here, before we conclude?
Well, basically, first of all, obviously, Mystic Rev is still an ongoing comic that you can read online at mysticrev.com. Full color pages every Monday and Friday. And also, one of the stretch goals listed in there is that I had reprinted book 1 again. And it has a whole new cover. It's in a new format, because this is like the 3rd or 4th reprinting of it. And the old format, it was wider. And this one is now like manga sized. So what's cool about that is that, there's like a lot of extra space added between the panels, so you can actually read it. Because essentially when I made the first book, I did it all in a sketchbook instead of how I do it now, which are on these really cool 11 by 17 boards, like how legit comic artists do it. So as a result, though it scaled really well for comics drawn in the sketchbook, the comics now are the completely wrong format for that wider book. So the 4th book will also be the same size. But yeah, I also did some redrawn artwork in here, and it's just like really, really pretty and nice and happy. So that is a stretch goal for like $10,000. It's to like recoup the costs of printing this. So, obviously, please back the project to get book 4 raised, and, ideally, I can recoup the book 1's, shiny new format. I mean, I know you can't, and I know you see me, like, touching it and everything like that, but, like, honestly, like, you have to touch this. It's so nice. I don't know how they changed it, but it's like a matte coated cover. And I don't know, like, if they just, like, really turned on the quality or something, but it's so soft. And I can't stop going like this. I love it.
If you order now, you're going to get handprints of Jen touching your books constantly, and it's going to wear it all down.
No, it's so nice. I swear. But yeah, so that is a really cool thing, and there are other stretch goals obviously that are really awesome also. But I'm just really happy to be here making comics, and I hope you guys continue to like the comics and support me.
Awesome. Well, no, we definitely will here, and of course you can always read Jen's work at mysticrev.com, and we'll toss the link to the Kickstarter in the podcast page there as well, too, and we'll get that posted, too. Thanks again, Jen, for coming on short notice and really talking about everything here, because it's, we got to have you on a lot more than every 3 years,
Hey, you send me invites. I am happy. If there's one thing I can do well, it's talk about myself.
We'll definitely keep you in mind there for the future as well. And, well, that ends this episode of TGT, and thanks so much again, Jen, for coming on. Look for her Kickstarter, look for her webcomic, and buy the really nice soft cover book as well, too, Okay, that's it. That's good.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm serious, though. It feels really good.